Welcome back to the deep dive. So today we're doing something a little different, kind of fascinating, actually. We're sort of reverse engineering finance. Instead of chasing happiness, which, let's be honest, can be pretty tricky, right? We're flipping it. We're looking at how you manage money by, well, actively dodging misery, which feels much more direct.
Exactly. It's like an exclusion principle. Think about it. Trying to find the perfect way, the perfect diet, the perfect investment strategy.
Yeah, it's endless.
It's almost impossible. Everyone's different. But knowing what's definitely bad for you, like, say, smoking,
Much easier, yeah.
way easier. It's universal. So we're working backward, just like evolution, really. You know, getting rid of what doesn't work, leaving what does.
I really like that framing. It makes me think of Charlie Munger, when someone asked him for life advice.
Oh, yeah. What did he say?
It wasn't about stocks or anything. It was purely about what not to do. He said, don't do cocaine, don't race trains to the track, and avoid all aid situations. Basically, avoid ruin.
Right. Avoid the catastrophic downside. Success starts by knowing the pitfalls.
Exactly.
And that's really our mission here for this deep dive. Look, we can't give you the single answer for your life, but what we've done is pull together a guide straight from the sources we looked at on, well, how to be miserable with your money.
Be miserable. Okay.
Yeah, because if you systematically avoid these things, these predictable ways people mess up, you give yourself a much, much clearer path to, let's call it financial calm, independence.
Okay, I'm in. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Where do we start? What's the first big path to financial misery?
Well, the first one is probably the most common, maybe the most insidious. It's all about external validation, chasing status, comparing yourself to others.
The comparison trap, keeping up with the Joneses.
Precisely. It's often called the hedonic treadmill, but one source put a really interesting spin on it. It's about where you point your focus. Misery comes from constantly looking at the people just, one rung above you on the socioeconomic ladder.
Right, and thinking, if I just had that car, that house, that income,
then I'd finally be happy. Yeah. You convince yourself that just a little bit more money or a slightly nicer thing will bring lasting happiness.
But hang on, how do we separate that from, genuine need? Sometimes you actually do need a bigger house if your family grows, for example.
That's a fair point. It's a crucial distinction. The misery isn't necessarily in the spending itself. The trap is forgetting that where you are right now, that was probably once a dream goal you thought would bring contentment.
Okay. So you achieve it, feel good for a minute, and then immediately look up to the next level, forgetting the progress you made.
Exactly. You recalibrate instantly, and you start chasing the next benchmark, usually one defined by someone else, not by your own needs or values.
And that leads to the real kicker, doesn't it? The trade-off. You chase status, but you often trade away your independence to get it.
That's the core of it. Misery blooms when you think happiness comes from impressing, masses of strangers, as one source put it.
Instead of valuing what really matters,
Right.
like owning your own time, that hidden magic.
Yeah. Right. Think about the difference. High income, high stress job you hate versus maybe a bit less income, but you control your schedule, your life.
That's a powerful choice.
And pursuing that external stuff, it leads straight into another danger zone, linking money directly to your identity.
How so?
Well, it happens when making money or spending it or just having it becomes who you are, your core identity.
So you're not a person who has money, you are your net worth.
Pretty much. We saw examples, people get so fixated on the number, the scoreboard, they completely neglect the actual life that money was supposed to enable.
It stops being a tool and becomes the whole point.
Yes, and that creates this awful feedback loop. Your self-worth gets tied to your net worth.
Oof. So if the market tanks?
You feel like you failed personally. If your boss criticizes your work, which impacts your earnings potential, it feels like an attack on you.
And chasing status often means you spend so much you end up completely dependent, right? On bosses, clients, banks.
Totally dependent. You lose that independence we were just talking about.
Yeah.
Any fluctuation outside your control sends you into an emotional spiral.
Yeah, that sounds like a pretty clear definition of financial misery.
It really is.
Okay, so step one to misery. External validation, comparison, tying money to identity. Got it. What's next? Where else do people go wrong?
The next area involves flawed perspectives, thinking in extremes about money, and crucially, ignoring your own blind spots.
Extremes, like what?
Well, there are two big ones regarding money's power. First, overestimating it.
Thinking money solves everything.
Exactly. The fantasy that if you just had a bit more income, All your problems, fears, anxieties, relationship issues, everything would just magically disappear.
Which is unlikely. Money helps with money problems, not necessarily life problems.
Right. It's great for logistics, comfort, reducing certain stresses, but it won't fix deep-seated emotional stuff.
Okay, so that's overestimation. What's the other extreme?
Underestimation. This is just as bad, maybe even more tragic in a way. It's assuming money can solve none of your problems, seeing it as inherently evil, the root of all ego and corruption.
And why is that tragic?
Because it dismisses money's incredible power as a tool for independence, for comfort, for experiences. It ignores, as one source said, thousands of years of humans figuring out how to make life more comfortable.
So dismissing money entirely is like dismissing progress.
In a way, yes. Money isn't good or bad. It just magnifies what's already there in your life and your personality.
That magnification idea, it ties into the next point, doesn't it? Flawed judgment, comparing your insides to other people's outsides.
Absolutely. It's a classic path to misery. You see someone's perfect Instagram feed, their shiny car, their big house.
And you assume their life is perfect. Great relationships, perfect health, zero stress.
Right. You compare your messy, complicated inner reality, your doubts, your struggles with their carefully curated public image. It's a completely rigged comparison.
And we all curate our outside, to some extent, especially online. It takes real effort to remember that when looking at others.
It does. And another huge blind spot, ego over empathy.
Meaning?
Believing that all your success comes from your own hard work, your brilliance, pure skill.
Okay.
But everyone else's success, that's just luck, pure chance.
And the reverse for failures.
Exactly. Their failures are because they made bad choices, they weren't smart enough. Your failures, oh, that was just bad luck. Market conditions, something external.
That sounds like a recipe for never learning anything.
It guarantees it. You become completely detached from reality, unable to learn from your mistakes or anyone else's. You trap yourself.
Okay, so these flawed judgments, these blind spots,
Yeah.
they must lead to actual mistakes in how people handle money, right?
Yeah.
Transactional errors.
For sure. One big one is ignoring the hidden costs. Not the sticker price, but the other costs.
Like what? Social costs.
Yeah, social costs, emotional costs, the cost of rising expectations. The sources pointed out, for example, buying something really lavish. It sets a new, higher bar.
So your next purchase has to be even bigger or better to get the same feeling.
Right. It's like a hidden form of debt, a psychological debt. You're committing yourself to a constantly escalating lifestyle just to maintain that feeling or status.
That sounds exhausting.
It is. And then there's the ultimate bad trade, risking what you actually need to get something you don't need.
Give me an example.
Think about someone burning themselves out, working 80-hour weeks, sacrificing sleep, health, family time,
Okay.
all for a small raise that won't fundamentally change their life quality.
Yeah.
Or maybe to buy a fancy car that nobody really notices or cares about after a week.
They're trading sleep, health, relationships, essential things for status or a number.
Exactly. Trading the truly valuable for the superficial, that's a direct route to misery.
And another related point from the sources was about ideological rigidity, getting stuck in one way of thinking about money.
Yes, treating every single financial decision like it's purely a math problem, an equation to be optimized.
Like getting obsessed with the spreadsheet.
Totally. More interested in making the numbers look perfect than making your life feel good. It ignores the fact that money involves emotions, reasonable sentimentality sometimes.
So the point isn't just to maximize the number on the calculator.
Not at all. The point is to use money to build a life that's actually worthwhile for you.
Okay, that's a lot of ways to become miserable. Chasing status, flawed perspectives, bad trades, rigidity.
Right.
So how do we flip this? How do we actively avoid misery?
This is where it gets constructive. The sources really converge on a few key ideas for avoiding misery, often centered around simplicity and a different definition of success.
Let's hear them.
The absolute core idea is focusing on independence. If you want the highest possible return on your money,
Yeah.
it's independence, full stop, buying back your time.
Buying time. How does that work in practice?
It means using money to gain control over your hours. Maybe choosing work you find interesting, even if it pays a bit less because it offers autonomy. Or, like in one example, saving enough so a spouse can choose to stay home with kids if that's what the family values.
So prioritizing control over your life above just maximizing income.
At every turn. It's valuing personal freedom and autonomy over the sheer number in your bank account.
which means you have to consciously reject those external benchmarks we talked about earlier.
Completely. You have to stop playing the game of impressing neighbors or even, trying to beat the market obsessively.
So the goal shifts. It's not about external validation anymore. It's about, what, internal calm.
Exactly that, internal calm. One source described it beautifully. Going to bed each night knowing your family is okay, your finances are under control, and you have the freedom to decide how you spend tomorrow.
That sounds genuinely wealthy.
It is genuine wealth.
Yeah.
And to get there, the sources advocate for what they called good enough simplicity. Not some crazy complex system, but a few basic guiding principles.
Simple principles. I like the sound of that.
They really are straightforward. Number 1, spend less than you make.
Okay, fundamental.
Number 2, quietly compound your savings. Let time do the work.
Makes sense.
Number 3, remember, money serves you, not the other way around. You're the master. It's the tool.
Crucial perspective shift. What else?
Number 4 is liberating. No one is thinking about you as much as you are.
Huh. True. So stop worrying about impressing them.
Precisely. Number 5, independence is wealth. 6, health is wealth. Can't enjoy money if you're unwell.
Absolutely.
7, aim to be a good ancestor. Think long-term impact. And finally, number 8, which ties it all together, love your family.
Wow. It's interesting that love your family is right there next to spend less than you make. It's not just about the numbers.
Not at all. It's a direct rejection of that purely mathematical spreadsheet-driven approach we mentioned. That kind of fierce saving ideology can turn money into just an accounting hobby.
And stop you from actually enjoying the life you've worked to afford.
Exactly. Money needs to be used sometimes for joy, for connection, for experiences, not just hoarded endlessly for some uncertain future.
Okay, so embrace simplicity, focus on independence, remember what actually matters. It sounds simple, but probably hard to do in practice.
It requires discipline, for sure, and perspective. Which brings us to the final pieces, understanding the role of luck and the importance of kindness.
Luck and kindness. How do they fit into avoiding financial misery?
Well, there's this amazing story and an anecdote about Kevin Costner.
The actor?
Yeah, and his friend, who later turned out to be Michael Blake, the guy who wrote Dances with Wolves.
Oh, wow.
So, back when Costner was starting to get famous, Blake was struggling. Really struggling, homeless, crashing wherever he could, but writing constantly, furiously. Costner apparently was pretty dismissive, kind of impatient, even told him maybe his writing just wasn't good enough. He let Blake sleep at his place for a bit, but admitted later he sort of saw him as a charity case, not, a peer or a potential talent.
Yikes. That's tough to hear.
Right. Costner didn't even read the manuscript Blake was working on day and night. Eventually, Blake moved out, ended up washing dishes somewhere in Arizona.
What happened?
Costner finally, kind of reluctantly, picked up the manuscript Blake had left behind. It was Dances with Wolves.
No way.
Yeah. The book and then the movie became this huge phenomenon, won 7 Oscars, made Costner an even bigger star.
Wow. Okay, the lesson there is pretty clear.
Blindingly obvious, but so easy to forget, right?
Yeah.
You just never, ever know where help or luck or the next big opportunity might come from. People who don't fit the conventional picture of success, the fancy car, the big title, they might be the ones holding incredible wisdom or the key to your next step.
So humility is crucial. Don't judge a book by its cover, literally in this case.
Exactly, and that connects directly to kindness. There's a line in Benjamin Franklin, honesty is the best policy. Well, the source material suggests kindness works the same way.
How so? Is it just about being a good person?
Well, yes, there's the moral argument, empathy, but there's also a purely practical, almost selfish reason to be kind.
Which is?
You might eventually need anyone's help or cooperation, a connection, a reference, a favor, maybe even a job someday. And people are much more likely to help you if you've treated them decently. They need to be in your good graces.
So kindness is also strategic.
You could see it that way. It keeps doors open. It recognizes the interconnectedness of things.
It forces you into a different perspective, doesn't it?
A really powerful final perspective, which is basically the luckier you are, and if you're listening to this, you're likely luckier than billions who came before, the nicer, the more humble you ought to be.
Because the playing field isn't level, and success isn't just about individual effort.
Not even close. Money can amplify a life you've built. It can accentuate the good stuff, maybe even the bad stuff. But it absolutely cannot create a meaningful life from scratch.
That has to come from within, from relationships, from purpose.
Exactly. And part of that perspective is realizing that People who make different choices than you, who have different results, they can still be just as smart, just as insightful, just as worthy as you are.
They're just running their own race
Yeah.
based on their own information and experiences.
Right. They do what makes sense to them. And when you can truly accept how messy and human and individualized money really is, that's when you start valuing that good enough simplicity over the false promise of complexity.
That's a great place to wrap up. Embracing the messiness, aiming for simplicity.
Mm-hmm.
So a final thought maybe for you, the listener, to take away. One source mentioned realizing that all behavior makes sense with enough information. We're all on our own complicated journey, trying to find a simple, meaningful life. We've laid out the map to financial misery today. The question now is, which of those paths, those universal pitfalls, do you need to consciously, systematically